Hi, I'm Debbie Famelos. Today, in this two-part series, we're going to break down exactly what hip dysplasia is, the signs to watch for, how it's diagnosed, and what it means for your dog long-term. My goal is to help you feel informed and empowered so you can take action now, because the earlier you start, the more you can help. I've spent my career helping dog parents across 36 countries turn fear and uncertainty into knowledge and results. My expertise is placing the world-renowned neurological skill of Response 5 into your hands, so you have the power to create real change at the root of your dog's mobility issues. I'll share what's coming in part 2, where we'll talk about walking, exercise, home adaptations, and how the neurological technique of Response 5 can be applied by you to make significant changes in hip dysplasia. So let's start at the beginning. What exactly is hip dysplasia? Hip dysplasia is a structural issue in the hip joint. A healthy hip joint works like a smooth ball and socket, allowing easy movement. But in hip dysplasia, this fit is loose or uneven, leading to wear and tear, pain, and eventually arthritis. This condition is most commonly genetic, meaning certain breeds like German Shepherds, Labrador Retrievers, Golden Retrievers, and Rottweilers are more prone to developing it. But genetics aren't the only factor. Nutrition, weight, activity levels, and even how your dog moves all play a role in how quickly symptoms develop and how severe they become. What's important to know is that hip dysplasia isn't just about the hips. Because of the instability in their hind end, dogs develop neurological compensation patterns where the brain reroutes movement to avoid pain. This can lead to stiffness, weakness, and changes in the entire body, not just the hips. Recognizing the signs early. The earlier you catch hip dysplasia, the better you can manage it. But dogs are experts at hiding pain, so it's important to look for subtle signs. Let's look at the early, moderate, and late signs. Early signs. Slight stiffness when getting up, especially in the morning. A bunny hopping motion when running. Reluctance to jump up on the couch or into the car. Changes in how they sit, favoring one hip over the other. Sometimes it's as subtle as hearing a clicking sound in their hip when they walk. Moderate signs. Difficulty standing after lying down. Noticeable limping or favoring one leg. Fatigue after only a short walk. Severe signs. Loss of muscle mass in the hind legs. Wobbling or instability when standing. Signs of pain, licking their hips, whining, or avoiding movement altogether. Every dog progresses differently. Some will show signs early in life, while others won't struggle until they're older. What's important is not to wait. Even mild signs of hip dysplasia mean the joints are under stress. The sooner you act, the more you can slow that process down. How is hip dysplasia diagnosed? If you're noticing these signs, the next step is getting a proper diagnosis. A vet will typically start with a physical exam, checking for pain, range of motion, and muscle loss. But to truly diagnose hip dysplasia, X-rays are needed. These can show how the hip socket is formed and whether arthritis has started developing. Important to know. Some dogs won't show symptoms even if X-rays confirm hip dysplasia. Others may show a lot of pain with only mild changes on X-rays. That's why it's critical to look at the whole picture, your dog's movement, behavior, and how they respond to activity. If your vet diagnoses hip dysplasia, they may recommend pain management, joint supplements, or surgery. But what's often missing from the conversation is how neurological therapy can play a key role in improving movement and slowing progression. We'll talk more about that in part 2. Long-term effects and why early action matters. So what happens if hip dysplasia is left untreated? Over time, the joint wears down more and more, leading to arthritis, chronic pain, and loss of mobility. But here's something most dog parents don't realize. Hip dysplasia affects more than just the hips. Dogs with hip dysplasia compensate in other parts of their body, changing how they walk and move. This can lead to spinal misalignment, muscle atrophy in the hind legs, strain in the front legs and shoulders from overuse, general stiffness, fatigue, and even neurological imbalances. This is why I emphasize whole body mobility support rather than just treating the hip joints. There's so much we can do, both to ease pain and to help the nervous system adjust and rebalance movement. The good news? You're here now. And that means you're already taking a step toward helping your dog move more comfortably, no matter what stage they're in. Coming up in part 2. Now that you understand what hip dysplasia is, how to recognize it, and why early intervention is important, what can you actually do to help your dog? In part 2, I'll walk you through how to walk and exercise a dog with hip dysplasia without making things worse, home adaptations that make movement easier and reduce strain, how you can support your dog's mobility throughout their years easily and at home. Remember, you are your dog's biggest advocate, and you have the power to help them move better, feel better, and live a happier life. I'll see you in part 2.